Good morning, happy Saturday. It's about 10:30 now. Got my workout in this morning. I think I'm gonna go over to the barn later, a little bit later this afternoon, because it's actually a little bit chilly out this morning. It's been a lot cooler the last couple of days, although I don't think it's gonna last, but I've noticed that over at the barn, it always feels quite a bit cooler than it does here at the apartment, which makes sense. It's kind of more out in the country. I think they're a little bit lower down there and there's a pretty good breeze at the barn. So I think it'll actually be nice to go over there later this afternoon when it's a little bit warmer. Freddie has still seemed a little bit uncomfortable ever since she had her vet appointment and got a little bit stuck in her stall last week. I'm not sure if that was kind of a trigger of some inflammation or what exactly is going on. I've been having a lot of thoughts about Freddie, to be honest, at this point. Kind of been running over things in my mind ever since that vet appointment and just what is ahead and sort of long-term future for Freddie. Anyway, I'll talk more about that later, but this is also my last weekend here. I am planning to leave at the end of next week to start my drive home, which is of course going to be a little bit sad to leave, but also I feel like it's always so nice to get home after time away, especially longer time away. But that also means I kind of need to start wrapping things up a little bit, just getting a little bit organized so that packing at the end of next week isn't too big of a task. I have a lot of random little things that I'll need to get done between now and then just to make sure everything is wrapped up before I leave. One of which is actually packing up the air purifier and shipping it out. I'm actually going to be shipping it to New York. Long story, but I realized for one thing, it would be very hard for me to fit that in my car with everything else that I have to bring home. And actually my parents are going to have a use for it in New York. I did save the box that it was shipped in when I got it because I knew I would probably end up either shipping it home or shipping it somewhere. So luckily it should be pretty easy to box it up and send it out, although actually like getting it from the apartment down to my car might be a little bit challenging. But that's one thing on the to-do list. I also will need to definitely go clean out my car again. It has accumulated a lot of dirt and dust just from being at the barn every day. Before I pack it up to leave, definitely want to get it cleaned out again. I also need to plan out my drive home. When I was getting ready to come here, I actually used ChatGPT to plan out my road trip. I don't really use ChatGPT or AI all that much, but it was actually really helpful because I was able to kind of input like where I was coming from, where I was going, how much driving I wanted to do each day, and kind of where I wanted to stop. And it basically mapped out exactly how far I needed to go each day and kind of options for cities or hotels that I could stay at. So it just sort of saved me a lot of time from having to search around, and also made it a lot easier during the drive to kind of know exactly where I was going to end up each day. So I want to do that for the drive home as well. And one other thing I want to share is I did get my blood test results. So a couple of weeks ago, I went to a Quest lab here and did a blood test for PFAS, the forever chemicals, which was a test I did a couple of months ago as a urine test, and some things showed up in the abnormal or high range. So my doctor wanted to double check my blood levels. This particular test, it didn't really come with like an explanation of things. So I'm not entirely sure how to interpret it at this point. I will be having a follow-up with my doctor once I get home, but for now I can kind of share what those test results look like and what kind of my guess is on what it might mean. And then yeah, just kind of starting to get maybe a little bit packed up, a little bit organized, figuring out my timeline for exactly when I will be leaving. Just spend a little bit of time this weekend, at least starting the process of getting ready to head home. Okay, so I just put into ChatGPT what I wanted my road trip to look like. It's 4 days of driving. I want to do most of the driving on the first 3 days and then just kind of finish up whatever's left on the last day so that I'm getting home during the day and not late at night. And I even put in which hotel I would prefer to stop at each night of the first 3 days. And it literally just like mapped out my entire trip. So each of the first days is somewhere around 330 to 370 miles. It tells me which cities I can stop in where there is that particular hotel that I want to stay at. Gives me a couple of options. So like the second day we'll be stopping somewhere near Indianapolis, and there's like 3 different places that are just outside of Indianapolis where I could stay along the route. So this just makes it so much easier because I can just like put in the hotel I want to get to rather than sort of driving aimlessly and then hoping I can find something when I want to stop. So I know ChatGPT or other AI softwares can do a lot more complicated things than this, but this was super handy. And also I don't really feel like I have to be worried about, like fact checking it since it's not that complicated of a request. But yeah, now I've got my road trip home all planned out. It is Sunday afternoon now, and I need to get this air purifier shipped out tomorrow morning. So I'm going to box it up right now and maybe even try to get it down to my car. So I'm not sure how hard that part is going to be, but I'm hoping to get it out or make sure that it actually gets sent out tomorrow so that it can get to New York by the end of the week. I don't think it's going to be too hard to get it back in the box, but I'm wondering, it was a little bit difficult to get the box all the way down the hallway when it first arrived, so kind of not totally sure how that's gonna go, or maybe I might have to see if I can find somebody to help me tomorrow morning just get it into my car. But I'll try to just get it in the box first and see how awkward it is to kind of maneuver. All right, air purifier has been shipped off. It was actually much less difficult and less expensive than I was expecting it to be, so that's good. I'm glad I've gotten that out of the way. One of many things to check off the to-do list before I am packed up and heading home later this week. Going to head over to the barn now to see Freddie, groom her a little bit. That's really all I can do with her at this point too, so that's part of the reason. Also, I feel like it's time to head home because at least for now and probably for a while, Freddie won't be able to do any walking. It's just going to be too much impact on her ligaments, and until we know if she's more stable and comfortable, the vet doesn't want her doing any like additional activity. She can still get turned out in her paddock every night, so she will be moving around a little bit, but like actual hand walking or riding her walking is not a good idea right now. So I can still go over and obviously spend some time with her and groom her, give her a bath or whatever, but given that she doesn't need that extra care or that dedicated activity every day, it doesn't really make sense for me to spend extra time here, but still want to get the most out of the last few days that I have here and still want to get time with her. I will miss having that horse time every day when I'm home, and I'm so grateful to have been able to spend this time here and have that daily horse interaction. So still going to take advantage of that over the next couple of days. It's a bit later in the afternoon now, and I'm getting ready to do a virtual therapy session. I've talked a bit about going to therapy before and that I've been working with this particular therapist really since the beginning of my health journey when my symptoms were really bad and I just was struggling to kind of manage not only my physical energy but also just the mental and emotional toll that it was taking. And I've been working with her now for, I think it's been over 13 years. So she really knows me and my whole history and kind of all of the ups and downs along the way, which is so helpful. And it's been so nice that even while I'm here in Virginia to be able to continue doing sessions virtually, even though it's not quite the same as doing it in person, but just to kind of have that consistency. And also, like I said earlier, now that my time here is kind of coming to the end and I have a bit of clarity on Freddie's situation. I've had a lot of thoughts around that lately. I've kind of been ruminating on some things, and I know that this session will be really helpful to even just like process out loud and have somebody that has kind of a neutral perspective and can help me walk through the things that are going on right now and give me tools and strategies, etc. I've been thinking a lot about kind of what this means now that I know really for sure that Freddie is essentially just going to be a pet at this point. Like, she's not going to be a horse that I can ride, much less a horse that I can show or compete on. And when I got Freddie back in 2017, it was the first horse I'd had in, I think, over 10 years. It was the first time I was getting back into showing after all of that time off. And it was so exciting to have found a horse as cool as Freddie. And we had such a fun first year together. And I felt like I had so much to look forward to. And it was kind of everything that I had always dreamed of in terms of having my own horse to show. And then that kind of fell apart in the coming years. And now here we are 8 years later, and it kind of feels like I have to start over again. But not only start over again, but also like let go of the idea that I had of Freddie being my horse and kind of that whole dream and having to kind of move forward. I think just sort of processing all that has brought up a lot of conflicting thoughts and emotions. And I do think it'll take a little more time for me to kind of wrap my head around that, which maybe it's good that I have a 4-day road trip coming up. It'll be a lot of good thinking time, but also thinking can easily turn into overthinking or ruminating. And that's again where I find having the opportunity to talk to a therapist where I can just sort of spew out all of my thoughts and feelings, and she can help me kind of organize it and understand it and then kind of be able to process it so I'm not overthinking or ruminating, but I'm also not just like ignoring my thoughts or feelings. Anyway, looking forward to having this session today. I'm sure some more things will come up as I really talk it through. So if anything interesting comes up today, I'll do another little update later. Good morning. It is pretty early on Tuesday. I've actually been up for like probably half an hour now. I'm not sure if I'm waking up super early in anticipation of leaving later this week and kind of all the things I need to get done to be ready to go, or if it's maybe a side effect of this antifungal protocol that I'm on, because it definitely has become more of a regular occurrence the further I've gotten into this protocol and also the closer I've gotten to my departure date. So maybe it's a little bit of both, but I've just been waking up pretty early, and sometimes I can fall back asleep or just kind of lay in bed until it feels like not too early to get up. But in any case, I'm up now, so just gonna get on with the day. I'm not surprised that my readiness score is a little bit lower today, and my resting heart rate was slightly elevated. You can see where I woke up super early and couldn't get back to sleep, but overall, not bad. About 2 o'clock now, and I think I'm gonna take this opportunity to go clean out my car and get a car wash. I've been trying to kind of pack up a little bit here and there, but realizing it's kind of harder to pack up on the way home than it was coming here because I'm kind of using a lot of stuff every day versus when I was at home getting ready to come here. Most of my stuff was staying at home, so I could like pack up what I wasn't using. But anyway, I've been able to get a little bit of stuff organized and figured at the very least I could go get my car cleaned out, vacuum it, get a car wash, kind of have that done. I don't think it's gonna get too dirty over the next couple of days, even though I will be going to the barn a couple more times, but it'd be nice to get that out of the way. And then when I get back, I want to do a quick little update on the antifungal protocol that I've been on for a few weeks now, and also share the results of my blood test for the PFAS test that I did a couple of weeks ago. And the results are definitely interesting. It's a little hard to interpret because there's not a ton of information on the results sheet that I have, but even without a lot of context, it's definitely not an ideal result, and I will share that as soon as I get back. All right, car is nice and clean, or I guess it's pretty clean. It could really use like an interior wipe down, but we'll see if I actually get to that before I leave. I wanted to do a quick antifungal update and then also share my PFAS blood test results. The antifungal protocol that I'm doing right now is basically a couple of rounds of different antifungal prescription medications along with one supplement at the same time to target a little bit of candida and also some environmental toxins that showed up on a previous test that these antifungal medications can help with. So I finished the first medication. I think that was like either 2 or 3 weeks. I can't remember, but that one was twice a day, 2 to 3 weeks, along with the candida supplement. I'm now on the second medication, which is also twice a day for the next couple of weeks. And then I'll have one more after this for like another 2 weeks, I think. And that whole time I'm also combining it with the candida supplement. And then once I get through all of those medications, I'll check back in with my doctor and we'll see where we want to go from there. I think I mentioned previously when I first started, I did have a bit of a reaction right away when I first started taking, I think in particular, the candida supplement. I was supposed to be taking that twice a day or every time I took one of the medications, but I found that taking it a second time, especially at night, was really upsetting my GI system, and it was basically keeping me from falling asleep at night. I just was too uncomfortable to be able to handle that twice a day. So my doctor said it was fine to just take it in the morning. I still do get a little bit of a reaction in the morning. It's kind of like a heartburn feeling. It usually starts maybe like 30 minutes after I've taken it in the morning, but it does go away like within an hour or two, and it's not bad enough that I feel like I can't tolerate it. And other than that, I haven't noticed too much of like actual gut reaction to it. I have noticed that since starting this whole protocol, my fatigue levels have been noticeably worse. Just throughout the day, I feel a little more brain fog. I feel a little more sort of weary, like that feeling where your limbs feel kind of heavy. It just feels a little bit hard to physically do anything. And particularly when I wake up in the morning, like I really have that like heavy, groggy feeling that's kind of hard to shake off. And also, as I've mentioned, I've been waking up earlier and finding it hard to get back to sleep. Obviously, I can't say for certain that any of those things are a direct result of these antifungal medications and supplements, but it's definitely been a change that was noticeable since starting this protocol, and kind of nothing else has really changed. It also kind of correlates with what I have noticed in the past when doing certain gut protocols, that the increase in fatigue and kind of that brain fog feeling is something that I have experienced before, which I think is fairly normal with this kind of thing, because sometimes with something like candida or other gut issues, when you're taking a supplement or medication and it's basically like you're trying to kill off a certain bacteria or fungus or whatever, as it's kind of doing its job, it is also like releasing it into your system and helping your body get rid of it. And as it kind of releases, it can be a little bit triggering or activating and basically make symptoms worse before it gets better. So even though it's like a little bit annoying or a little bit less fun to deal with, it's potentially a sign that something is working, and it is a short-term protocol. So it's not like something I'm going to be on for the rest of my life or thinking that I'm going to be experiencing these symptoms long term. So it'll be interesting to see once I finish the next couple of weeks whether some of those symptoms dissipate or what happens next. But that's kind of where I'm at on this antifungal protocol. And then The PFAS blood test results. I haven't had any discussion with my doctor yet about these. Once I get home, I will have an appointment with her to go over these test results and also kind of follow up on the antifungal stuff. So this is just like really my initial interpretation or look at these results. And like I said, there's not a lot of context with the test results. This is literally just like results, as you can see. All I know is that it looks like all of these test results are very much on the high end or out of range, because I feel like PFAS testing is relatively new. For one, I'm not entirely sure like what could affect these results, or how maybe alarming this would be to have numbers like this. I'm also not sure how like well known the actual safe ranges are, but even so, it doesn't seem super great to have all of these be basically at the far end or very high compared to what they're saying is normal or okay. But again, definitely want to check with my doctor on this, see how concerned she is about it, or maybe some of these things are less concerning, some of these things are more concerning. I'm not sure, but we will certainly have some things to talk about at our next appointment. And with that, I think I'm gonna wrap up this video here. I have a lot of packing yet to do to get ready to go in a couple of days. So next video will probably just be really finishing all the packing up and getting in the car and driving home. And as much as I will be sad to leave Freddie, I am also very much looking forward to getting home and hopefully getting home to some nice fall weather. If you want to continue to follow along, please do subscribe down below, or you can give this video a thumbs up if you like it. It feels sort of awkward to ask you to like this video or subscribe, but it really does help with the YouTube algorithm to basically show my video to other people. So if you are interested, I would definitely very much appreciate it if you would subscribe and or like this video. And thank you very much as always for watching, and I'll see you next week.